this next little while we'll do the talk about the anger stuff, and then after that we can move to Q&A, and then you can ask me any questions that you want to, okay? Or you can ask it on the screen, but you can type your questions out if you don't want to ask them. Okay, so anger in children. Anger is something that happens developmentally when we feel frustrated. It's a very explosive emotion. I think most of us have felt angry at times, maybe each day, maybe each week. Maybe some of us are people that don't get angry. But keeping emotions inside yourself is actually really toxic. So it's actually a really positive thing for children to vent and get stuff out. But we need to look at how we manage these emotions and how we manage this destructive behaviour, and how we maybe turn it into something that's more useful, that's more helpful and constructive. So I'll give you a couple of examples of things that I've come across in my career that will probably shock some of you. This is how bad things can get with children if we don't manage with discipline, with routines, with rules, with boundaries. Okay. So when I came from the UK about 13 years ago, I was working in Melbourne, and I was the problem solver for a team of 20 nurses, and I've got a degree in psychology. I'm triple P trained, so I'm trained in behavioural management with children, and it's something that's always really interested me. And knowing that you can change behaviour just through your words, your subtle actions, and just the effect it can have on families. I meet many families that are broken when they meet me, and after the space of a few weeks, things are often turned around, and these families are amazing, and these children are amazing. These children, when I first meet them, they are very angry. They're acting out. They don't want, to do what I'm asking them to do. They know I've come to do something, and they just know what I'm there for. The next week, when I used to go back to these families, these children would be eaten out of my hand. They would want to not like me because they knew I'd done something, but they couldn't help but like me because of the strategies that I was doing. I'm going to give you some of those tonight. Okay. So one of the children I'm going to tell you about is a little 5-year-old. Her mum was had another child that was very sick, and so this child got all the attention. I think he was about a 10-year-old. So she'd forgotten to parent and had abdicated responsibility for parenting within the family. Now, this little girl, one day, she stood up in the bath with her hands on her hips and said, "Mum, do you think you're in charge? Because you're not. I am." And that's where it all started. And the next day I went round to see her, this little girl who's 5, got hold of a big broom handle, and she hit her mum across the back with it. I was like, whoa! I thought, what? I said to the mum, right, what are you going to do? She goes, oh, I think I'll put the broom handle underneath the bed, Karen. I said, no. What are you going to do with your child first? What are you going to do? She says, oh, what do I do? I said, would you like me to show you? She goes, oh, would you? I said, oh, yes. So we did some time out, and it had reached the point of that, because there was no, once you've reached violence and destruction, you've got to contain them, okay? And we did time out in the laundry. I don't close doors. I don't shout at them, but when I've done something that has been really quite naughty and hurtful and harmful, the way that I introduce the time out is I say, right, you haven't done as I've asked. You're now going to go straight into timeout. And they will shout, and they might even laugh at me. They'll try and protest and resist. But if you say it with intent, with words that you mean stuff, you can get them to comply with you. Now, this little girl, I'd returned to timeout 15 times in that session. And at one point I was actually dragging her back into the laundry, because if you don't follow through and if you don't do what you say needs to happen, timeout for a 5-year-old should be 5 minutes of quiet time. If they're making a fuss, that timer doesn't start. So that's what I had to do with that little girl that day. And after that occasion, that performance, she never did it ever again. So Mum had actually taken control back. Like I said, she'd lost control previously. There was no control in that house whatsoever. And I got the broom handle, and I took it back to the clinic, and I put it in the bin. I thought it was the best place for it. Underneath the bed, she's going to find it again, and it could happen again. But I also put some strategies in place so that it didn't escalate to that point ever again. But this is what can happen. And as I mentioned to you before, Tara, I used to have 3-year-olds setting fire to their curtains as well in Manchester, because it had gone past the hitting and biting and shouting stage, and the children hadn't got attention for those, or hadn't had those misdemeanours addressed and boundaried, and so it had reached a whole new level where they got the thrill of the fire brigade coming round with the sirens. The youngest fire raiser I know of in Australia, in Sydney. Who's this? Who's that there? Is this Julie with Oscar? Do I have Oscar?
It's Oscar. He just wanted to say
Oscar. Oh, Oscar, you are so cute, sweetheart. What a gorgeous little boy you are. And you're all squeaky clean after your bath. Wow. Oh, he's gorgeous, Julie. Thank you for showing me him.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, Daddy, he wouldn't want to go to bed because I'm not there.
Oh, that's okay. We won't be too long, Julie. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for showing me him. He's gorgeous. Did you all see Oscar? Yep. Somebody saw Oscar. Yes. So that's just an example of what can happen. So the youngest fire raiser I know of in Australia is again a 3-year-old down in Cabramatta. I've got a friend who's a fiery, and what the fireys now do is they turn the sirens off as they approach the property. So then the child doesn't get a thrill and get it, imprinted that it's a positive thing to set fire to curtains. So they're out there. So it's important that we get to this before it becomes that bad. Okay. Now, as children are growing up, it's really important that we talk to them about emotions, that we give words for emotions, and we don't allow emotions to be repressed. Too often, and I know from my own background, my own experience of being parented, we're told to shut up, to be quiet, to not make a noise, to dry those tears, don't be a suck, all those things. Now, those sort of things end up becoming shaming. And it ends up that we keep these emotions inside ourselves because we think we shouldn't cry. It's not, or we might say to a boy, it's not a manly thing to do, isn't crying. You're not a man if you cry. Whereas the opposite is true, that we should be allowing kids to vent, to express their emotions, and we shouldn't be stopping it from happening. Too often with sleep work, I see babies that are not allowed to cry at all, and then the sleep problem becomes very entrenched. And really, crying is really important. Now, there's a book that I love by Aletha Salter called Tears and Tantrums. She is the student of Piaget, who is the godfather of developmental psychology. And she talks in here about kids must be allowed to really vent and really get rid of their stuff, particularly when you're working through difficult things with them. But it's important that we acknowledge their emotions and we say things like when they're having a tantrum, I can see that you're really angry right now, and I'm going to let you calm down in your own time. So we acknowledge the anger, we give a word for it, and young kids, hello Amy, hello by the way, I've got Amy here as well. Hello, we're just talking about anger in children, Amy. We're just saying it's really important that children are allowed to vent and really explore their emotions. It's a really, really healthy thing to do, and that we give words for feelings. So when we see a child with a certain look on their face, we say things like, oh, I can see you've woken up feeling really sad this morning. You look really worried today, or, or you're having a really cranky day. Yeah. So it is really important to give words to emotions. And boys have really a big difficulty with this. We talked last week about boys and emotions and the fact their two hemispheres are not connecting together very well. So boys, it's so important that we teach them about how to read faces and what expressions mean on faces. And that's something that can take a little while to develop. And that's why giving names to stuff is so important. Now, last week, I talked to some of the peoples on the toddler thing about my big shouting day. This is one of my favourite books. It gives words to emotions, and it helps the child understand that that they are having anger issues. And it's important to do it in your very dramatic voice, but it's a really amazing thing. I use books a lot in my practice, okay? I think it helps connect with them and helps us understand them. Often when a new sibling comes into the family, that can create anger issues as well. Boys in particular have a big issue with that, but girls can too. Again, I've got a book that I use a lot with that. It's called The Brothers Quibble by Aaron Blaby. And it is really humorous, but it's got really serious message underneath it about this usurper that comes in to try and steal the crown of the boy that lives there. And it all ends happily ever after, but it's just resolved beautifully within the language that a child can understand who's 2 or 3. So it's important that we look at emotional self-regulation and that it happens by the age of 2 and 3. So children should be allowed to vent, allowed to just explore their emotions, and we shouldn't try to stop it, okay? Now, we also need to look at having a bit of laughter and humour around parenting, because I think it can be a very serious, hard topic at times. And that maybe we choose our battles as well, but how we manage our own anger at their sort of antics is really important. Okay, now telling them that we know how they feel, that we understand what they're going through, I think that's really important, to come down to their level and use words they understand. And before we act, that we try and count to 10, because once you get into action mode, once you get angry yourself as a parent, then you will tend to do things that maybe you wouldn't mean to do. There's somebody in my own circle, I'm not going to name this person just in case she listens to this, who did get very angry when her little baby was being hit by the toddler, and was getting very angry and getting hold of the toddler and throwing the toddler on the couch and shouting a bit like a fishwife. And she didn't mean to do that, it's just how it came out. It's how it made her feel. Her baby was hurting her baby. And the older child was biting the 7-month-old on the head and slapping her and pushing her over. Then we looked at doing some chill out time, because you can't do time out with a 2-year-old. So you can either do a holding technique, or you can put them on the couch by the side of you to help manage their intense emotions. So they're just a few things that I would do with anger. Okay. I also look at having some rules in place and some strategies for the house. And I look at house rules. So the house rules are that we sit at the table and we eat our meal. But the rule is that we sit at the table. So have some basic rules there that everybody can do. But I call them house rules. Okay. So they're just a few little ideas for how to sort of de-flare things. With older children, you can get them to problem solve and ask them, why you're angry, why you think something's unfair, and what they think should be done about it, what they think the solution is. When they're under 3, to ask them something like that is really, really hard. Okay. So I've got Tara here with Lisa. Do you want to share anything, Tara, at all about your little girl and what's been happening, and do you want me to help you problem solve some of the stuff?
I think Lisa's acting out because of how sick I've been with everything, and I just, because I can't do as much with her as what my mum does with her, I think she acts out at that and tries to get attention that way. So if my son's is a calm child. My daughter's not. She's very active. My son's happy to sit on the couch with me and just read, and Lisa would prefer to be out being and just destroying the place. Like even this afternoon, Jake and I were setting up the Christmas tree, and Lisa just said toilet, so she doesn't like to bet anyone else to watch her on the toilet, so she goes on her own. So I thought, right, I'll give her 60 seconds and go in and check with her and see how she's doing. And then I went in there and she hadn't gone to the toilet. She went into the shower and she'd emptied the shampoo and conditioner bottles all over the bathroom floor.
Yeah,
and I don't know why she did that, because everybody was getting along setting up the Christmas tree.
And I would actually ask her. I would actually get down to her level and say, right, Lisa, why did that happen? Why did you feel angry?
I did that. I asked her. I asked her why. I said, because we were doing that, and she just laughed and ran away.
Right. Okay. Children laugh when you're actually getting close to what the issue is. It's like when I do time out with children, they often laugh at me because they're nervous and they know that I'm on their case, that I know that something is going on. So children will laugh. It's a way of diffusing their sort of nervousness. Okay. Something's probably happened in the day, Tara, that might have been before the Christmas tree stuff, and she just released it by doing that. How old is she, Tara?
She's 2 years and 2 months, because I put her in her cot, and her brother went to sleep in the waterbed that's in her room as well, because I've got my mother-in-law here at the moment, and she's in Jake's room. And Jake went straight to sleep, and Lisa just decided to reach over, pull everything out of her drawers and throw that on the floor, and then throw everything out of her cot and just flatly refused to go to sleep. And then she threw out a nappy as well.
She sounds like a typical child I see, Tara. I had a little boy the other week, Caden, just over 2, and he threw everything at me till in the end, at bedtime, all that was left in his room was his cot and his chest of drawers.
Yep.
I removed everything else from that room because he was starting to throw it. I've had heaters thrown at me by children, and I've caught them. I've had lamps thrown at me, and I've caught them. So kids, that's a way of just getting rid of all their anger, their pent-up stuff. So we need to look at some other stuff in place. And with your 2-year-old, with Lisa, I'd look at doing something called the child's game. Have you ever heard of the child's game before?
No.
Okay, this is like the glue that puts all the behaviour stuff together. And we talked about this the other week, I think, a little bit. But it is the most important thing, more important than timeout, more important than labelled praise, more important than anything else. So when you look at behaviour, it's like a jigsaw. So you've got all those other pieces that need to be there, but the bit in the middle is the child's game. I'll send you a link, Tara, to this, and I'll send you the information about this. It is on my blog, most of this stuff. But it's about just doing some special time every day with her. Just 10 minutes every day, just you and her together. She chooses the game. You don't direct it, she directs it, and you comment on what she's doing. Because too often when we play with children, we want to teach them stuff. We want to take over and do stuff. And this is about the opposite. This is just about being in the moment and just sitting there with her. And if she's drawing, if she's building, just comment, you know, oh, that's really interesting what you've done there, Lisa. Oh, I like the look of that. Oh, that looks very special. So you're not giving it actual grades. So it's not good, bad, fantastic, whatever. You're just commenting in general, okay?
Okay.
And to start with, she's going to find this a bit weird, because it is a bit weird. And when I first started doing behavioural interventions with children, when I trained as a health visitor, it was a very different way to how, like I said, I've been parented. And it took a long time to get used to this way and for the awkwardness to go. And now it just becomes a natural way as to how I am now. Because once we start to play with kids and we take over and we teach, then they stop playing with us. They don't want to know. Yep. And I do a lot of this in my seminars that I used to do. I used to show how not to play and how to play instead. And when you start taking over and directing and stuff, it really gets kids really annoyed. And the adults in the room used to get very annoyed with me.
Yep.
And then when you do it like I'm describing, it is so powerful. And this can lead to a real mending of your relationship with Lisa, I believe, Tara. And bear in mind, I've had this amazingly angry children in my career, and they've all responded. They've all got better. If you get to them before the age of 3, you can fix a lot of stuff. Okay.
Okay.
If you don't get to a child before the age of 3, it is really hard to sort stuff out. Okay. And I can see this, that up to the age of 1, you can sort a lot of sleep problems out. Up to the age of 3, you can still sort sleep problems out. But after 3, behaviour and sleep problems, they become very entrenched. Children, their anger just escalates. The anxiety with kids that are not sleeping properly will escalate as well. And then these patterns are set, for life. And when we're angry, it's very stressful. It's very toxic because it's full of cortisol. So all this horrible pent-up, so how you feel yourself when you feel angry. Probably you felt angry when you just saw the shampoo all over the floor. It really stresses you, and it really is harmful to you. But it's really hard as a parent not to sometimes react to these things. And, we allow for developmental, lack of capability, but we don't allow for bad behaviour. And it's about separating out the behaviour and the child. And I'd start using words with her like, Lisa, I love you, but I don't like your behaviour. Yeah?
Yep.
You're telling her that she's very valued, she's very loved, but this behaviour is not okay.
Okay.
Yeah? And you have to be really firm as to how you say it, but keep your voice, at a general level, that it's not shouty. But you look at her with eye level, and you look at her straight into her eyes, and if she's not looking at you, turn around and you get hold of her by her shoulders and you talk to her that way, okay? Now, if I've got a child who's doing something that I don't like and I want them to distract and divert whatever it is they're doing, I'll give an instruction, a command. I'll do something like, for example, Lisa, I'd like you to stop throwing those things. I'd like you to play nicely with this instead and show what playing nicely looks like. So I'll demonstrate it, okay? Often they do things when it's around meal times, nap times, when they're overtired, if they're not sleeping well. And it's a way of getting attention to keep themselves awake, to keep themselves stimulated. So that's when angry situations can happen. So making sure that she has lots of food inside her and low GI stuff, and just make sure she has regular naps. Now, the nap thing...
I'm paranoid about her nutrition anyway. I've got a nutritionist working with me, so she works with the kids as well.
Yeah. So looking at things like not having too much milk in the diet, iron deficiency can cause behaviour problems. It's always good to check their iron out as well.
That's fine with hers.
It's okay, good.
Yep.
Because sometimes these things, it's just chicken and egg, which comes first, But I'd like you to just practice this child's game thing, but I'll direct you to the link to where it is, and I'll send you some information, Tara, because I think this desperately needs to get turned around. She's 2 years, 2 months. You know, it is not beyond hope to sort this out.
If my phone drops out, it's because my battery's is about to die, and Lisa has managed to hide my charger.
Okay. Have you also heard of labelled praise as well, Tara?
No, I haven't.
Right. Labelled praise is really, really powerful stuff, and it's about praising effort, but not empty praise is like good, clever, fantastic, all the rest of it. It makes children not want to achieve, and actually creates anxiety because they don't know what it is they've done that's good or clever. So if we want to really get more good behaviour happening, then we need to say things like, well done, Lisa, for putting your toys away, awesome, high five, and things like that are really important. So you see, you're giving the positive thing with their name, with what it is they've done, the effort. Okay.
Yep.
If say, you know, she's eaten her veggies up, you say, oh, Lisa, you've done a great job eating those vegetables up. So proud of you for trying them. Yep. You see how we can just mould behaviour with those simple things. But how we give commands and instructions, we need to tell children what not to do and what to do instead. So say if we've got a whingy child, I'll say something like, I'd like you to stop whinging, please. I'm talking your nice quiet voice instead. And I make it humorous. If you put humour into stuff, and if you say things with a smile on your face, it's really hard for a child to get mad at you. Okay? So whenever I'm in a home and I've got an angry child, I do a lot of smiling. But I don't get too much into their face because that can be really confronting. Okay? And it's like I said, this is moulding behaviour. It's what we call authoritative parenting. So there's 4 different types of parenting. You've got your laissez-faire, no rules. You've got permissive rules, but then given after a battle. So I want the chocolate, I want the chocolate, I want the chocolate. Okay, you can have the chocolate. Yeah. Then you've got authoritarian, which is smacky, shouty, which just teaches them that violence and anger is okay. And then you've got authoritative, which is moulding, discipline, rules, boundaries, and it's really important that you have those in place, Tara. It'll be your friend. It's hard to start with because she's not going to like these new things. Now, when you do behaviour management and changes with children, on the first day they really act out because they go, I don't like this. Second day they might go, okay. Third or fourth day, that's when they escalate behaviours, and that's when you think, oh, it's not working, when it actually is. You've got to keep on going. That by day 5, 6, 7, and so on, you should be getting there. So that's how to manage discipline, behaviour, and moulding, and just changing things. Okay. So limit setting, like I said, limit setting is so important that you do have limits and you do stick to them. With older children, you can look at logical consequences, getting them to choose how they should be disciplined. So say if they've spilt something, getting them to clean it up, because that's logical. Okay, they've done the naughty thing, the messy thing, get them to help you. If you've got an older child who's refusing to eat his meal, and the consequence is, if you can't behave at the table and they start throwing the food gets removed, and meal time's up, no snack, straight to bed with no food. And that's the logical consequence. So that's how I'd look at anger in children and misbehaviour. So, do you have questions for me now? Have you all got the Q&A thing on the screen? Can you type your questions in if you wanted to?
Can you hear me still, Karen?
I can hear you, Amy. I can.
Okay.
Do I have Belinda here? And Julie and Natalie? Are they still here?
Yeah, Natalie's here.
Natalie's here. Hello, Natalie. How are you going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are things in your home?
The gastro bug has hit everyone besides me, so pretty crazy. We had our 2-year-old's birthday yesterday, so our 5-month-old got sick yesterday, but we still went ahead with the party, so it was a bit crazy. But
right.
Lots of fun.
Good. As long as there's some fun amongst the gastro.
Pardon?
As long as there's some fun amongst the gastro, Natalie.
Yeah, we're managing actually surprisingly really well.
Good.
So that's good.
Do you make any headway with the sleep stuff that we talked about?
Well, because Alessia has been hit with the gastro, she's actually been sleeping really well because she's so tired. So,
so it might just sort itself out, Natalie.
I hope so.
You know, no, it takes a week to change your behaviour. It might just happen.
I hope so.
So I'm going to wave my wand for you, and yes, that'd be lovely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll leave it maybe 2 weeks and see what happens.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So any questions about angry children or general behaviour?
By the sounds of things, I'm doing everything that you have already suggested, which is awesome.
Great work.
Yeah. I think it's partly...
Have you learned this as...
That's helped.
Yeah, I was just going to say, have you learned this as an OT as part of your training, Natalie?
Yes, exactly.
Great. And you've heard of the child's game stuff before?
No, I haven't heard of any of the labelling, but basically...
But you know the concept.
Yeah, my boss is RDI consultant. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's relationship development intervention, and basically it's for families of children who have children with autism. And it helps everyone in the family develop a relationship with the child with autism instead of just being like, well, you have autism, so you can just be, and it will be the rest of us.
Yes.
And it's exactly how you've explained authoritative parenting. Basically, you let them be a person, no matter what age they are, in a sense.
Yeah. Have you heard of Elisa Salter before then, Natalie?
No.
Right, this is her book here. I got directed to it by a client of mine, Mari, and she said, this is a book you must read, Karen. This backs up everything that you believe, and it's full of research. She's Piaget's student, and you'll know who Piaget is, Natalie. Yeah. And it's not particularly well written. It could have done with a better editor, I feel, but it's actually a lovely book full of research that backs up why kids need to vent, why we need to respect their emotions and not try and keep it all in, because once we do that, it's just toxic, and we're going to make that anger worse. And look at why they're angry, what it is they're getting frustrated about, trying to find words for it. And there's also a lovely psychologist called Louise Porter. Have you heard of her before, Natalie?
Yeah, I've seen her last name on a lot of journals and books and things.
Yeah, she looks at it's a relationship model, and her book's called Children Are People Too, and it looks at a deeper level of understanding with children, really talking to them at their level and really exploring what's happening for them. And she talks about things even like potty training as toilet learning, which I like very much.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
So then it's not rote learning stuff. It's actually ready developmentally for to be potty trained. So her approach. I found it through the Holdsworth Centre. The girls there invited me along to some baby massage, and then I went along to listen to Louise Holdsworth. They had some videos there of her presentations, and I just really liked her stuff, Natalie. So I think this type of parenting, I think it's really, really powerful, and it works, doesn't it? But it's
definitely.
When we've been parented,
although they still have their tantrums.
Oh, totally. It doesn't stop any things from happening, but it's just how we manage it. I know. But I think knowing as a parent how to manage these things is so powerful, Yeah. And I think too often we're sort of feeling in the dark and not knowing how to navigate behaviour stuff. And we only tend to parent how we've been parented ourselves. And if we've only seen hitting and smacking and shouting, that's what we're likely to become until we know something different. And for myself, I know with my experience being parented, it was very much that type of background. My mum has really evolved now as a grandma. She's not a bit like that anymore. And in fact, she's gone the other way and has become grandma no rules, which I find. Me and my sister are like shaking our heads at her going, what happened to you? But, and she comes out with really fascinating things, my mum. She says things like, children are very innocent, Karen, until the age of 3. Very innocent.
Oh.
I think, woo!
Such a lie.
I think children are very clever. Are they innocent?
Yes,
I'm not too sure about that one. Yeah. I mean, babies are working.
Speaking of which, mine just came home from her date out with her grandparents, so I'm sorry I have to leave a little bit early.
That's okay, Natalie.
But
is that helpful though, talking about all that stuff?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It makes me feel really calm that I'm on the right track as well,
Yeah.
which is good. Yeah.
I'm going to be doing some webinars next year and probably podcasts on all these things. I'll probably divide them up into four lots of different things. But I think I'm going to go down the podcast route for this. I used to do seminars over at Erskineville once a month on all this sort of stuff. And I think it just, it needs to be out there and not inside my head anymore. Because I think more people need to know about it, Natalie. And it's very powerful stuff. Yeah. There's a heap of stuff on my blog as well, and I've not taken it off there. It's still there. People are finding it, though. It's very interesting. I know now what
I'll have to go searching.
People know there's gold on that blog. So, yeah, eventually it'll go into a book. It'll go into all sorts of stuff eventually, Natalie. And,
Great.
Great. Yeah. But I'm so glad that you know about it, and it just backs up what you know. And
yeah, definitely.
You're doing a great job, Natalie. You really are.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. I'll see you at your next chat.
Yeah, you will do, love. I'm going to be sending some emails out because I'm going to be doing, unfortunately, from next week, they've got to be a part of a paid system, but they're going to be very low cost. I'm going to be looking at, it'll be a tiny amount per week. It will not be very much at all. But I think this should continue, these Hangouts. I think they're really powerful things. And I think it's a way of getting, being able to ask any questions of me and also getting some education as well each week. It's, I've really enjoyed them. They've been really good fun. And everybody's managed to get here, which is really good. So, and I'll see you soon, Natalie.
Sorry.
All right, bye-bye, love.
See you later.
Okay, we've still got Julie here, or has Julie gone?
Yes, I'm still.
Hello, Julie. So, Julie, and I've got Amy. Have you got any questions for me that you'd like me to answer about Oscar?
We're just wondering, the last couple of days when we put Cooper down in his cot to have a sleep, he just carries on, like cries and won't settle, and we're like, what's happening? Like, do we just continue that resettle process with the hand, or?
I would do an in and out method, Amy. So I would stop sitting in with him with your hand on him. I'd put him in and wait 3 minutes, and then do a check-in method where you go in and out the room. So you go in and you say to him, night, Cooper, sleepy time to go to sleep now, and then walk straight back out again, but don't touch him and don't pick him up. Because he's going through separation anxiety, and if you touch him and do a lot with him, he's going to shout even louder because he knows he's becoming separate to you.
Well, we are doing that, like going in, just peeking over, checking his cot. But we go in and we peek over and we find he's looking at us, so he starts laughing and we're like, go to sleep. And then but just the last 2 days, really crying. And I'm like, leave him, but then, he starts to elevate and we're like, oh, should we go in and get him? Maybe he's not tired. But just started it the last couple of days. I don't know what it is.
It's stage of development. Yeah. So try not to look at him. Look at him past his head. Okay? Because once you link eyes, it's serious stuff.
Yeah, I know, because then I start laughing and he starts laughing and we're like, oh, no.
Yeah. The more you do to him, the less likely he's going to go to sleep. So, check on him, acknowledge him, tell him he's got to go to sleep, and increase your time limit. But I think Julie's been through this with Oscar. Can you think of anything to tell Amy, Julie?
Well, we just kept persisting. So we did what you taught us, Karen, to go in, to say good night, go to sleep, and then walk out again. And he'll just extend the times, and eventually he just sleeps. So
even if he carries on for an hour, Amy, do not worry about it. You can't harm him.
Okay, right.
Okay, I get a lot of persistent resistance.
He done it today, and I said, don't leave him. If he cries to sleep, he'll cry to sleep.
Yeah.
But, he was really due for a feed, so we ended up getting him up anyway. But I didn't know if to leave him that long, so we just leave him. So he'll eventually fall asleep himself.
Even if it's, an hour and a half, 2 hours, as long as you're checking on him.
I don't think he'd go that long, but it's at least the first 20 minutes, he'll talk to himself and he'll have a bit of a cry.
Most will go about 40 minutes. I get a lot who go an hour. I get the very isolated ones that go an hour and a half or 2 hours. So But you just keep an at it, Amy. It'll get better. So it'll take us about a week to fix these things and turn them around. But it's because of his stage of his development with his separation anxiety. He's changing. Cooper's growing up. He's becoming a person, a little individual. Selena, hello, Selena. Good evening.
Hi. Sorry, I missed everything.
That's okay, love. I'll put it on slightly early today because I was thinking maybe 8 o'clock is too late. Do you think 8 o'clock is too late?
Not for me, but maybe for other people. I don't know.
Yeah. I was thinking about the times that I do these, whether I need to change the times as well. And I was thinking the baby one. I was thinking of doing some weeks doing them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, and then other weeks doing them in the evening. That I might alternate.
Yeah, that might be good actually. An afternoon one. Yeah.
Yeah. Or do I just do it permanently in an afternoon on a Tuesday, for example, or a Thursday?
I guess you could try. See how many people.
Right.
Yeah.
And to see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes doing always evenings is maybe not a good option for a lot of people. So because it cuts into time.
It's difficult for us. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of doing anyway. So.
All right.
Have you got any questions for me, Selena, or Julie, or Belinda, or Amy?
I have a question, just very quickly, Karen.
Mm-hmm.
My question is about how to prevent or minimize Oscar from acting out. Well, what we found is our son got called into work, so Roy had to start the Oscar, and so when he left for work,
He sounds breaking up a bit, Julie. Just I think it's a reception. Is about Oscar and acting out?
Yeah, it started when I had to leave for work, so I got called into work and I had to leave quite quickly, and so we had to look after him. And from that day on, like he sort of every single time if he grab my bag, he thinks I'm going, and he starts out and get angry towards Roy.
Yeah.
And now we kind of, if I'm in the same room with Roy and we're sitting, and if I don't converse with Oscar, he starts to get, I'm not sure if it's jealousy, but I think he starts to feel like if Daddy is sick, that means Mummy has to go. And so he starts acting out. He gets quite angry, and he's been, like, you know, he's still got the and distracted Roy. And so we want to, and we've told him, no, please don't do that. You know, you're hurting Daddy. I'm not going anywhere. So, but it doesn't seem to be helping, and we really want to stop it from getting worse.
Yeah. I just asked Selena if you'd had anything like that happen with Max. Just tell me about Max, Selena. When you had to go back to work, did Max ever, act out and get angry when you had to leave for work or take him to daycare or whatever?
It was probably more when I would come home that he would get angry after I'd been out all day. He was always fine when I left him, and then once sort of the day had gone and he realised, that he'd missed me, he'd sort of act out then. But yeah, he would, he sort of would more just ignore me or say that he doesn't love me or something, so quite a little bit different.
Yeah. So it's similar sort of stuff, but it's different. And I think by acknowledging his feelings, Julie, that is really, really important to give him words for his emotions and say, look, I can see that you're getting really angry and you're worried that I'm going to be going to work but I do always come back for you. I do always, Mummy's always at home and she always comes back for you. Mummy's not leaving you. You do like broken record stuff? Have you heard of broken record? Because if you don't acknowledge the anger, then it becomes repressed inside, okay? You definitely need to have that conversation with him, but in very simple Oscar words. But they do tend to see certain things that we do, and then they see that we're leaving because of how we act with our routine. And it's really normal for him to get angry about you leaving, Julie. I know it's awful for you, but at least he's actually verbalising it and he's acting out. But I think to acknowledge it is the way to go.
So when I'm cooking and Roy's from home and Oscar will cook and tries to take Oscar away, he pushes Roy away.
Sorry, the sound is really bad, Julie. I can't hear.
So, how about now? No?
Hello? Do you want to send me an email, Julie, about all this stuff?
Okay, yep, cool.
Would that be easier?
Yeah, yep.
It's just that I can't hear you very well at all, and I don't want to miss something of what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what at the house.
Yeah, if you send me an email and write everything in the email, and I'll give you a good reply and to sort this out, because I think we don't want this to get out of hand and to get where he's feeling very overwhelmed. It's obviously bothering you as well, Julie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The sound is just really bad. Okay.
I'll send an email.
So I think we're going to finish the hangout if that's all right, because the sound isn't great, and I think it's late. It is now 20 to 9, so I think it's nearly my bedtime.
Yep.
So I'll be in touch with you all by email and just to let you know what I'm doing next week and so on with his Google Hangouts. Okay. Yep. So I'm sorry I'm like at the 11th hour because I'm trying to take 2 staff on, do this, do that. It's like sort of parenting, it's multitasking, and my life is slightly chaotic and I'm not as organised as what I usually am. But there'll be an email tomorrow from me and just telling you exactly what is going to be happening. That's all right. Cool?
Sounds good.
I've really enjoyed these Google Hangouts, and thank you all for joining me. They've been absolutely fantastic. They are going to continue. They are not stopping, but unfortunately they can't be free forever. So that's just life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Oh, I'm going to have to get a job now.
Okay. But you've all made it. I'm so proud of you all. Okay, well done. We've beaten the technology. I think that's fantastic. All right. I'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, people.
Bye.